Okay, so hello and welcome back to an Arduino tutorial. Today I'll be explaining you how to create your own super simple alarm system. I'll be explaining everything in 4 sections, starting with the introduction, then I'll explain you a little bit about the parts, and then how to assemble them, and then let's write some code to actually control this. And in the final step, we'll be looking at the code to use the information we got from the motion sensor to actually turn on or off the LED light. Thanks for watching and I hope you enjoy the video. Next to releasing videos about Arduino programming, we also released our electronics projects webshop. We will start selling packages with all the parts you need in this and future videos. By buying from our webshop, you get the parts you need and support the channel. Let's start off with looking into what today's mission is and how to accomplish this. We want to turn on an LED light when motion is detected, and because the Arduino Uno on itself doesn't have the capabilities to detect motion, we'll be using a motion sensor, and this time we'll be using an external LED light. But even though it might be fun to watch an LED go boom, we don't want that to happen, so we'll also need a resistor. Now we've had a brief overview of what today's mission is, let's start putting things together. We'll start off with connecting the motion sensor to the Arduino. As you can see by looking at this manual, you'll have to connect pin 1 on the motion sensor to 5 volts on the Arduino. Then for pin 2 on the motion sensor, we'll go to digital pin 3 on the Arduino. And then for pin 3 on the motion sensor, we'll be connecting that to the ground on the Arduino. I'll be using a breadboard, but this is not necessary. You can just connect them. As long as you connect all of the parts like we show in this manual, everything should just work. So now instead of looking at these slides, let's just look at the workbench. Like we're showing in the manual, all that's left to do is actually make the connection for the LED light. As you can see, we connect the anode of the LED to ground and the cathode to digital pin 12 on the Arduino. Don't forget, the cathode is always longer on the LED light. Make sure you install the LED light correctly, otherwise the LED will not turn on. Now let's get back to the workbench and we'll show you how you actually connect this. Let's quickly look at this code flow and then we'll actually write the code. So when the Arduino turns on, the LED is turned off. And when motion is detected by the motion sensor, we turn on the LED and then wait for 1 second and turn it back off. If no motion is detected, the LED will stay turned off. So now let's open up Visual Studio and write the code. So open up Visual Studio Code. Our code is actually fairly similar to what we did last week, but this time, instead of just blinking, we'll use the input we get from the motion sensor to determine whether or not we should turn on the LED light. So let's start off with defining the pins we will be using. So we'll define a LED pin, which is pin number 12. Now let's define the motion pin, which is motion underscore pin. And this is digital pin number 3. Now we'll also need a variable to store the value that we get from the motion sensor in. So let's just create a variable. Let's call it VAL for value. And then let's initialize it with a value of 0. Now in our setup method, we'll have to define the pin modes. So let's use the pin mode function again. And for the LED pin, it's output. But this time, because we want to read from the motion sensor, we'll use pin mode for the motion pin and we'll use input. So now we can digital read as opposed to digital write from this motion pin and we'll get a value. and we can use this value to determine whether or not we should turn on the LED light. So now for the code that's being run repeatedly, let's first of all get the value, so digital read for the motion pin, but we'll store this value in the variable we created above. So now let's check if this value is high. And what that means is if motion is detected, the motion sensor will send a high signal to our pin or digital pin number 3 on the Arduino. So what we want to do when motion is detected is actually turn on the LED light. So you might already know how to do this, but let's just digital write to the LED pin and send a high signal. Now, as I explained in the code diagram, we want to delay for 1000 milliseconds again, or 1 second. So the LED actually turns on and we can actually see the LED turn on, as opposed to it blinking so fast that our human eyes can't even catch the LED turning on and off. The next step is to actually digital write to the LED pin again, but this time a low signal, so the LED turns off. So this is all the code. Now let's upload it to the Arduino and actually see it working. As you might remember from our last episode, let's just click on this platform IO button and then click this upload button. As you can see, the code has been successfully uploaded, and I can actually look at my Arduino now, and when motion is detected, the LED turns on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.